Hygge is like a compass, steering us towards small moments that money cannot buy you, finding the magic in the ordinary.
Welcome to the Culture Exchange podcast. I'm Marie-Christine and I'm here with my co-host Frauke. Today we're diving into the topic of Hygge.
Moving abroad or living in different cultures comes with incredible opportunities, but it can also feel unsettling. So how do we create a sense of home, no matter where we are in the world?
That's where the Danish concept of Hygge comes in. It's often translated as coziness, but it's much more than that. Hygge is about creating meaningful moments, a sense of warmth and connection, whether alone or with others.
So today we are speaking with Danish actress and author Marie Tourell Søderberg, who has explored Hygge in depth and written a book about it. We'll uncover how this way of living can help internationals, global nomads, and anyone adjusting to a new environment feel more grounded and at home.
Marie Tourell Søderberg is a Danish actress and author passionate about sharing her concept of Hygge with the world. Best known for her book Hygge, The Danish Art of Happiness, she has traveled across Denmark to uncover how small, everyday moments can bring comfort and joy. With a background in acting and storytelling, she beautifully illustrates how anyone, no matter where they live, can embrace Hygge as a way of life. Marie, welcome to the Culture Exchange podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Marie, tell us, what is Hygge really? Tell us a little bit about it.
Hygge is a Danish word for, we use it in so many different ways, but it's a Danish word describing a sense of warmth, happiness, comfort in the small moments. And I could use it now, like we are hygging together by having this conversation, or if I'm alone, I can be doing hygge or be hygging myself by lighting a candle and maybe if it's cold, embracing myself with a warm blanket and having a nice warm cup of something, but like treasuring small moments by making them into something special. Creating warmth and comfort, and also about connecting with other people. So really treasuring the moments with other people and prioritizing spending time together with people you love.
That sounds wonderful. So in your book, you emphasize the importance of simplicity in life. Do you think Hygge can help people cope with this modern, fast-paced, crazy world?
Yeah, I think there's a simplicity to the concept of Hygge because it's so much about what is and not about what we want, like material or what we want in life. It's so much about going not out but in, and embracing what is. So it's very much about becoming aware of how the small moments actually can be an opening to much more everyday, ordinary happiness in our lives.
Yeah. You know, Marie, according to the World Happiness Report, correct? Denmark consistently ranks as one of the happiest countries in the world. Why is Hygge so deeply connected to Danish identity and how does it contribute to this happiness?
I think we should start by finding out what it is, because it's a word and it comes from Old Norse, where or that was kind of the original pronunciation of it. And it is this contrast between the cold and the warmth. So it was very cold outside, and then you can go in to like comfort yourself, shelter yourself from the outside. And because it is in the language, it has kind of evolved throughout time, and the language it has kept being in the language. So we've been using it so much, which has kind of made it an an ingrained part of our narratives. So when we use this phrase so much, do you want to hygge with me later? Do you want
it's
to
a
have
verb as well. You use it like to hygge. Okay.
Hygge is a verb, and you can also put it in a hygge cup or a hygge hygge those. And there's so many. I also have a list of how many words it actually in the to just highlight that it's also in our narrative. So when we use this so much in our way of speaking, it also kind of emphasizes this quality we want. So that's why it's such an ingrained part of our culture, and it comes from the language. And to your listeners, I just really want to say that even though it's a Danish thing and that it comes from language and using it doesn't mean that it's only Danes who can do this. It's a universal thing. I think you also in Germany have something similar, don't you? Like a hygge thing, like Gemütlichkeit.
Oh, Gemütlichkeit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't use it as a verb though. I think it's like coziness, like making yourself cozy. And something is gemütlich. Yeah, cozy. Yeah.
And I think also what I said before about Old Norse and the cold side and the warmth inside, and you say this about making yourself cozy and comfortable. I think the basis of the word is that, but it's also much more. It's not only the coziness; it's also to describe describe an environment between two people that can, when people are really like enjoying themselves and connecting and having this special moment of togetherness where it's just like, oh, this is so much hygge, like an expression of I'm so much enjoying this time with you, being with you, then it becomes hygge. So it's not only coziness, it's also a way of describing a quality of togetherness.
I wanted to ask, because we were talking about hygge now, yeah? So what are some of your own favorite ways to practice hygge, actually?
That's a good question. I think when I wrote the book, it's a couple of years ago, and since then I've had 2 children, and they really much emphasize for me what hygge is. And so now my favorite way of having a hygge time is very much being with them. And when I pick them up after kindergarten and school, we go home, and maybe I've baked some buns, and I normally like make a bun, and they really enjoy making their own cocoa.
Yes.
So we normally sit around our table and do a puzzle or paint or draw and have something nice together while we kind of just reconnect after being apart during the day. That is a really like treasured moment for me. And also when I put them to bed and I come out and everything becomes calm, and I've cleaned the kitchen with my husband, and I sit down in our sofa and just like feel the freedom, the time I have, and just sitting there and just being, maybe with a hot cup of tea or something. That's also really become my a new kind of hygge for me. I light a candle and I make myself a cup of tea and I sit in our sofa, and then I'll find out what I want to do, if I want to read a book or talk with my husband or just sit there and just be. Yeah.
While researching or writing about hygge, were there any interesting discoveries or maybe even surprises you made?
When we wrote the book, it was very clear to us, Catherine and I, who wrote it together, where Catherine is my oldest friend. We've known each other since we were 8 years old, and she also became my neighbor. So that this hygge really did. It became clear to us. It became clear to us that we couldn't write the book without having a good time together. Without being in hygge, we couldn't write the book. So something you could kind of convey with words, like this is what hygge is. Yeah. But it was really, really clear for us that if we were stressing about something, or if you being a bit like, oh, you wrote it this way, or I wrote it this way, then kind of the whole magic from the book disappeared. So it was a really big discovery for us to kind of insist on writing the book from a place of hygge. And that's been a big discovery for me also, like later, how I work. Right now I write a book about co-creation and creative processes, artistic processes. And if I am not writing it in that spirit, it doesn't work. So it was really clear to me that this essence of hygge, like having a good time and lighting a candle, sitting with a blanket around me, having tea or what I wanted, some snacks, having a good time, not stressing about things, that has really kind of transformed the way I work, actually, by just writing the book and discovering that.
Mm-hmm. And in your book, you also share recipes and rituals connected to hygge. What role does food and shared experience play in creating hygge for you?
It's like the food, even though I would really love to say that you don't need the food. It's what works for me is really having something concrete, something real to put the hygge into. And it doesn't have to be sweets or cake or buns, but there's something about putting something into your mouth that kind of materializes the togetherness, the hygge, the sensations, and it's like you take it into your body. And I really like that also with the warm drinks or cold drinks if it's in the summer. But there's something about what you kind of take in and digest that kind of transforms the moment and puts it inside your body, if that makes sense.
That's actually a good point, because you said also summer, it's not only winter and autumn, right? Because not everyone knows.
Yeah.
You're actually, it's all year round.
Yeah. And that was what I was trying to say in the beginning with where does the hygge come from? It's been like north and cold and warmth and lighting a fire and having a bonfire, not a bonfire, the fireplace inside where you warm your hands and it's cold and blankets. But from that, it's really evolved to being like something you have between you, like in the togetherness, describing a way of being together. So for me, summer hygge would be to sit in my summer house with some friends at a long table, and we've been bringing a dish, each of us, on a separate table, and I've made some drinks and people are kind of having a nice time. Maybe there's a bonfire in the back of the garden and the children are running around. This is summer hygge for me, and it's hygge for me is so much more about describing a way of being together, like atmosphere, being relaxed and being in connection and really like the essence of being together and really like cherishing this thing that we have between us.
Do you think hygge can be truly universal, or is it deeply tied to Danish culture and the Scandinavian lifestyle? So can anybody learn it actually?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. I had a really interesting experience that after writing the book, I went to the Faroe Islands and all the people I met, it was such a huge discovery for me to find out that these people from the Faroe Islands were actually better at doing hygge than we were in Denmark. They were so used to, sometimes they were trapped on an island because there was so much fog that the ferry couldn't go over. So they had to stay, and they were so isolated that they had to knit and do their own wool things. And they couldn't kind of make... like, hi, can you meet up on Wednesday? It was like, no, can you meet up now? Because the weather is like this, so I can go with the ferry. So there was so much emphasis on the present and embracing the weather and getting the best out of it, living in isolation and being so dependent on other people that I haven't experienced a more hygge environment than being on the Faroe Islands. And that's sometimes also my discovery when I travel, that it's not a Danish thing, and I don't think we're the best in the world anymore. I think it's so universal, and it's much more a personal question about how you relate to other people and how you kind of make the best out of what you have. And I think indeed the Danes and I can keep on learning from so many other people around the world about what it means to actually have a good time together and cherish the things that actually mean the most.
Yeah. So for someone new to Hygge, what's the easiest or most impactful way to start embracing it in our daily life?
I really like this ritual about lighting a candle.
Mm-hmm.
Some cultures, lighting a candle is maybe a bit religious or something you do at church, but my sister-in-law, she who's also in the book, she says that she always brings like a tea light, a tea candle when she travels, to light it in hotel rooms or when she is, to kind of bring the ritual with you. So that's my easiest go-to thing, like have a candle and have some matches, and kind of the ritual of lighting this candle and putting it there and watching the flame is what kind of reminds my body of doing hygge. So that'll totally be my go-to.
So in your opinion, how does practicing hygge contribute to mental well-being and overall happiness?
There's an element of mindfulness and being present in hygge, because it's not about wanting things in the future or worrying. It's very much embracing what is. So it is this ritual of being happy about the smaller things in life, looking at how the sun shines and puts shadows in through the curtains, or sitting in the sofa and watching your family, being thankful for what you have, biking around on your bike and just being so thankful about being where you are. That's thankfulness and humility connected to hygge, because it's not about wanting anything. So I would very much emphasize these two qualities, and also on that note, say that after these hygge books came out, there were so many companies that wanted to sell hygge cups and hygge clothes and hygge pictures and hygge this and that, which is material, which has nothing to do with hygge. You don't need anything special in order to hygge. You don't need your place to look in a special way. You don't need to dress in a special way. You don't need anything else than the things you have. It's very much about coming back to who you are, what you have, and looking at it and being super thankful for what you have, and treasuring the everyday moments instead of chasing all these things that we as modern people tend to chase.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yes, I'm thinking about our international community. You know, moving to a new country can feel very unsettling, and I like your simple tips there. You said maybe light a candle, carry your favorite photo of a family or other items, just to feel a little bit more, you say, bigger, right? Yeah. What are some other cultures you came across? You said, oh, this is very Hygge-like. Have you faced any other examples where you said, like you mentioned Germany with Gemütlichkeit, did you find any other similar ways of Hygge?
Yeah, in the book we also met a very, very beautiful man, like beautiful on the inside, beautiful man, Isham from Morocco. And he talked about how Moroccan Hygge was. It's very much about sitting low, so everyone is equal. And there's also this ritual of serving tea, which also kind of has this ritualistic thing about it that the candle also has. And this equalizing thing where you all kind of gather around something. This was kind of the tea serving ceremony. And
yes.
Also have been like a bonfire, sitting around a bonfire, but sitting around something that unites you, something you can be together around, like a tea table, or so all the differences between high and low and status and so on disappears and unites people across these differences that we have. And that's a really, really beautiful chapter in the book, and where he describes his background, and it's so clear that hygge is present in every kind of culture in different ways, I'm sure.
And what advice would you give to someone who feels maybe disconnected or overwhelmed and wants to find this balance through Hygge?
I think there's two ways in this. There's the Hygge you can kind of comfort yourself with. That, like, when you feel alone, then kind of comforting yourself with a blanket or lighting a candle. And then there's also the togetherness aspect of Hygge, which is so important for people also in 2025, where loneliness is such a big issue for so many people. We isolate ourselves behind the phone and the screen, and we really need to reach out to each other. So there's the comforting inwards, and there's the reaching out outwards to get more togetherness and meeting other people. And maybe it can take a while before the real Hygge kind of you can't really control what Hygge is. You can't say, now we're going to Hygge, and then the Hygge comes. It has its own nature, and it comes into conversations and meetings, sometimes all of a sudden and sometimes not at all. So, but you can kind of reach out and kind of reach out for togetherness for other people, because we as human beings need connection. So first of all, connect to yourself, and then reach out, connect to others, even though it's difficult and awkward and there's a lot of newness and things, but hopefully Hygge will show its face eventually and drop into a conversation or a thing that happens, or it'll come, I'm sure.
Can you think of a maybe personal experience where you might want to share, where Hygge has brought comfort or even joy to you during a rather tough time?
Yeah. I lost my dad, 13 years ago? Yeah, 13 years ago this summer. And we were left, like, my mom and my sister and I, and we were only us, and then my brother. And then we were a lot together in that time, and it wasn't that it was hyggelig. It was, we were in deep sorrow and so sad, but we had each other. And I remember in the beginning that we were invited to a friend's summer house where we were just the three of us, and we were playing card games. And we were actually finding Hygge in the midst of great sorrow. And this really tough time in my life has brought me so much closer together with my mom and sister. And now we just bought a summer house together, that kind of summer house, and emphasizing the togetherness, even though we miss our dad and my mom's husband so much. But that's brought us closer together, and we've kind of made it bigger by choosing to buy something together that we can have these moments in, where we find each other and connect and do things together, do a garden, decorate a house, cook dinner for all the children. That's really been comforting in a time of great sorrow.
Is there any misconception in your perspective about the concept of Hygge people might have?
Yeah, I mentioned the material side, where you think you can buy Hygge. And also, I think I briefly mentioned that you can't control Hygge. You can't say, now we want Hygge, or I want to invite my husband out on a date, and now we're going to Hygge. You can't control it. It'll come if it'll come, but you can't control it. And often it comes in the most peculiar ways. Then, okay, this was hyggelig. We just been out eating. It wasn't really hyggelig. We were walking, and then suddenly the bus stopped because the doors couldn't open. So we were kind of trapped in this bus, and then we sat there for a long time laughing, and maybe Hygge came because we talked to some other people. And there was this strange situation just made a moment very, very special and memorable. So it turns up in the weirdest ways. Yeah. And another thing is the thing about happiness that we talked about. You said that Danish people were one of the most happiest people in the world, and maybe it's because of Hygge. And I think that is partly true, but I think also this is a really yeah, it's an endangered species, Hygge. It's disappearing. We're disappearing around behind our screens, and we're getting further away from each other. There's so much discomfort in the world right now, and I think it's not that Hygge can solve it, but I think we have to go deeper than that. Go to connection and connect with each other. Really treasure the small things, all the things we have amidst this crazy world situation we have right now. So it's not that Hygge can solve things, but I think we really have to connect to what it's deeply pointing towards, which is togetherness, connectedness, and treasuring the small things, being thankful for what we have.
I think it's interesting that there seems to be a contrast between like a country's general happiness ranking. Like I think Denmark is on the second place after Finland. And at the same time, I hear so many stories from the international community that they really face challenges when integrating into the Danish community when they move there. And they really struggle to find a sense of belonging, at least in the beginning. So there seems to be really like a contrast. Do you have any idea why there is this contrast? Or is it because because of Denmark's reputation as like the happiest country, and of course that can create high expectation for expats as well, who might expect smooth integration into a society that just seems perfect on paper, right? And then sometimes reality does not match those expectations, and then frustration can set in. And especially if you are not able to build a community quickly, or you face challenges in fitting in.
I think that is such a good point, and I'm so glad you brought it up here, because that is the backside of this. I talked about the Old Norse expression for Hygge, which is hoo-gah, which is kind of going in from the cold and kind of going inside. And there's also kind of leaving the outside alone, which is what I think you're also pointing at. I've heard many times before that Danes and maybe also other people in the Nordic countries can be really difficult to get to know. And I think there's something about this concept that hygge is something you do with people you know really, really well, which means it's really difficult to be from the outside and be new and want to have a nice time with Danish people. And it's not something I'm proud at all. But it is in the culture. It's ingrained that there's something about closing something out, closing the door to the cold and harsh weather, and going inside and comforting yourself by your own fire. And I think it's as representative of a Danish culture. It's really something we have to be aware of, that it can close other people out. And I think there's also maybe a realistic expectation that when you want to be a part of this, that you want to be in Denmark and experience biking around and being a part of this hyggelig culture, then there's also being realistic about that it is difficult to get to know people that well that you can actually find hygge together. It takes time to establish connection, and sometimes it might be easier with people who's in the same situation as you, that's also new, that longs for connection in a different way. And it doesn't mean that you can't hygge with Danes, but we are a bit closed. And I think that we have to be realistic about that, both on the Danish side, but also people who want to come in and hygge. If that makes sense.
How about the professional life? Like, have you seen companies actually embrace some kind of hygge at work? Like, is it a coffee chat? Is it a get together? I know. Is it something you would do in your professional life as well?
Maybe I'm not the right person answering that. Maybe you should ask someone that's really professional, because I work as an actress, so I'm
sure.
artistic field, and I think it's not that there's hygge, there's mostly art, but there's definitely connection. Yeah. And there's a lot of the time relationships are seen as the most important thing. Mm-hmm. So kind of establishing a relationship in the artistic field it makes the artistic work better. And I'm working on this book on co-creation, and we're discovering that relationships are the most important in order to develop creatively. Mm. So if hygge at work means valuing and taking time to nourish the relationships at work, then yes, I think that is happening, and I think that's happening in places where they are aware of the quality that it creates for the workers, how much work quality that comes out of people being at ease, having a good time, enjoying their work, and that really much comes from feeling the communal feeling, being together with your colleagues and having a genuine connection.
Mm. Getting back to your book, how did you want your readers to feel after finishing your book on hygge?
That's a good question. I want them to feel that it's super easy and it's right there. Mm-hmm. And it's not difficult. And it's just about opening your eyes in a new way and discovering new moments. And that's why there's so many golden flames or sparks on the front.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, and that's for me very much what hygge is. It's about becoming conscious of how many moments we actually have during our day where this quality is there. This is actually a really nice way for me to work, and I'm doing right now. When I'm not talking with you, I'm doing an audiobook that I'm reading aloud, and I want this to be a hyggelig thing for me. And when I'm looking at the world this way, then my everyday becomes like this string with pearls on, with a lot of lovely moments. And I would really love the readers to have the same experience in their life, that they can have so many moments during the day that is filled with light, as well as the candle is, like light-filled moments during the day that's ordinary but profound at the same time.
Mm. I mean, you should not judge the book by its cover, right? But it's a beautiful cover, I have to say, and all the pictures inside. I'm quite sure that everyone is left hyggelig afterwards, because it's really beautiful.
Yeah, and we will add the link to the show notes, so our listeners can find out more there. So, Marie, where can our listeners find you or get in contact? Like, do you have a website or just check on Amazon? Tell us.
In terms of hygge, the best place to find me would be through the book, so on Amazon or through your local bookstore, for sure. And the only social media I'm on is Instagram and Facebook, but I'm not a very social media kind of person. I really love the real world. So the best would actually be the book, and then get to know me by going out and doing hygge in your own life.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a real pleasure, and thanks for all your insights as well.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasure. Thank you.
We definitely feel this. Hygge,
yes. And I love actually that it's actually all year round. Summer.
That was new to me.
And also fall, winter. So that was new for me as well.
Yeah.
And
good to know.
Thank you for everything. And thanks for being a guest on our Culture Exchange podcast.
Thank you, Marie.